Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com, and I've got Perrin with me as my co-host. Perrin's out in Chicago, and hopefully he's doing good. Let's check in. Perrin, what's happening over there?
I'm pretty good. I know I said this last episode, but it's true this time too. I'm tired. I think our whole team is tired. Why is that?
I don't know. You tell me. You not sleeping enough?
Kind of, but I got some stuff keeping me up at night, but mostly in the Disneyland kind of way. We're excited.
Yep.
I think by the time this is launched, we will have had some exciting stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. We got a lot going on, and we've been working pretty hard on lots of things. It may not seem like that. We only come out with one podcast a week, so that's all anybody sees. But we really are doing a lot behind the scenes with our FBA business, which is what we're going to review today, of course, but also with Longtail Pro. We've preparing for a big promotion that's coming up, and then some other things as well. So definitely a lot going on in our business that we're excited about and is keeping us busy for sure. So having said that, before we jump into today's podcast, which will be all about our physical product business and what we're doing to grow that and some of the success that we're seeing, I do want to do a small sponsorship spot, which is really for my own product, so I don't have to pay for it. But I think it's worth mentioning Longtail Pro here in the introduction, just because I do a lot of keyword research for all of my sites, not just my authority sites and my niche sites that I talk about as case studies, but I actually do it for my, the businesses that are very visible to people. So for nichepursuits.com, I'm constantly doing research when I write blog posts, and most of my traffic comes naturally from Google on nichepursuits.com because of that keyword research. And believe it or not, we do the exact same thing on longtailpro.com as well. We have a blog. I hired Jake Kane. It's been 8 months, I think, ago, and he's been actively blogging finally over on the longtailpro.com blog, just because I didn't have time with everything else that I had going on. But every blog post that he's doing is keyword researched. He uses the software Longtail Pro to figure out what to write about on the blog, which is kind of funny, the loop that we have going there. But we rank naturally for all these low competition keywords on the blog, and those bring in new sales, and it grows our business. So we actively are doing keyword research, and we also are doing keyword research for our physical product business, for our Amazon business, and I've used nothing but Longtail Pro for that as well, to figure out specific niche I should go into and the keywords that I should be targeting in my product descriptions. And so having said all that, I do want to just mention that I have a special offer for the software right now. If people go to nichepursuits.com/V3, as in version 3, so the letter V and then 3, they can get that special offer. So if you go and check that out, you'll see exactly what that is. If you're listening to this early on when we first release this, the discount's going to be pretty significant. If you listen to it later on, years from now, I'll be sure to still have a discount page up there so that you can always get a discount over at nichepursuits.com/V3. And that is one of the big things that we've been working on in our business, is getting version 3 of the software released and available to the public. We've done a completely new interface and streamlined a lot of the processes so that it's faster and easier to use with version 3 of the software. So there you go. There's a quick sponsorship spot for my own software product. Feels kind of good to be able to do that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, how long have you been working on that? Way before Jake and I were around, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Longtail Pro itself, of course, I've been, building that business for 4.5, almost 5 years. But specifically version 3 of the software, we've had a lot of things that we've been working on for well over a year, certainly.
Yeah, big time.
So with that, let's jump right into the Amazon FBA business, because last time we chatted, we had mentioned that we're just getting our new inventory back up and running. We had been out of stock for about a month and a half or so. And now I'm happy to say that our stock is finally back. We've got our previous product that was selling really, really well is back online, and it's selling really, really well once again.
Yeah, man.
And so, yeah, it's really exciting. I want to talk about, that it's selling really well. I will just mention that we also have a second product that now is live and ready to be sold as well. So,
yeah.
So let's go ahead and jump right into that. It was one of those things when we got our stock of inventory back, we were hopeful that everything from day one would be right back up and running. I had heard some horror stories that, well, if you run out of stock for a significant period of time, Amazon kind of penalizes you and it's like you're starting over fresh. Well, that has not been the case whatsoever for me. I got my inventory back up, and from day one, it started selling immediately. I think it took a couple of days to get back to the level that it was at, but the first day I made, at least a couple of sales. And so we're back up and running. It's selling just as well as it was before, and we haven't done a whole lot to get there.
Yeah, and we put it back up online, and maybe this is indicative of how my life goes sometimes in business, but I put it back, or we put it back up there, and I just didn't want to ask about it because I didn't want to hear that it wasn't selling, and I was kind of hoping for the no news is good news scenario, and it's been working. When you said, like, we've been pushing 8 units a day out the door or something for the last couple of days, I don't know, we're just super, super excited about it. And if you remember our last blog post or podcast, we mentioned that for this particular product, we think as is, without any extra marketing, about 10 units a day is our maximum velocity. So to be up there near that maximum velocity so quick after getting it back on Amazon, we are super, super happy about it.
Very happy. Definitely happy. And I know probably for a lot of people listening, 8 units a day doesn't sound like a lot, maybe. But you have to remember, this is a $60 to $70 product. And so, selling 8 units a day is about $500 in revenue. Mm-hmm. And so that's not bad at all. And especially when I look back at the profit margins, I've done the calculations now that I paid for manufacturing and shipping and got it all up on Amazon, and I can see the Amazon fees. Our profit margin's probably going to be around 45%. But even if we estimate lower at 40%, so if you take 40% of $500 in revenue, that's $200 profit, take home per day that we've been doing. And so people can look at that, how, depending on how much money they make, in a month, $200, that's $6,000 profit in a month. And that's just what we're sitting at right now.
Yeah. So very, very exciting. It works. The exciting thing about it is that it works so fast, for sure. It's not like building a niche site, and we've talked about that. But I wonder if we can talk about the process of getting this thing back online and what we did to get it back up to that sort of sales velocity. Because in our last podcast, we were just getting ready to put it back online and see what happens. So, and we had ordered the product and it was in the Amazon warehouse. What was the process, even if it was simple, what was the process of getting that product back on Amazon, and then what kind of promotion did we do for it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how far back we want to go, but let me go back. So we placed another order with our manufacturer. They manufacture the product. I have a shipping agent that handles all the shipping, and so the shipping agent picks it up from the port in China, ships it to their warehouse in LA, and then at that point, I send my shipping agent essentially UPS slips for where Amazon wants the product. And so they usually want it in 3 different warehouses. So they divide up the product, and my shipping agent via UPS then shipped it out to the different warehouses for Amazon. And it takes a couple of days for Amazon to kind of process that product and get it ready, but then it's up and ready for sale. And because I had already created the listing, it's ready to go. I didn't have to do anything else. And then as far as promotion for this time, our restock, we didn't do anything. Didn't ask for any reviews. I didn't do any promotional units. We were planning on doing that, but it's up and selling, like I said, up to 8 units a day already. And so I decided, you know what, rather than me giving out a bunch of units for free, I'd rather just have the revenue to myself, because if we went out and tried to get 30 reviews, we'd have to give away the product for free essentially. And so you take 30 times 60 or 70, that's close to $2,000 in revenue that I wouldn't get. And so we're sitting at the point where, you know what, I don't want to give out promotional units because this product's selling so well on its own without any promotions that if I'm not careful here, I'm going to run out of stock anyway. So rather than me pushing this thing even higher and then running out of stock and waiting for a month, I'm going to just let it kind of cruise along at its pace for now. And then when I have a chance to get an even bigger order, maybe I'll go back and do some more promotions at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good lesson learned for me anyway, and maybe for us as a business, is that if you can build a listing that 1, ranks in Amazon, and 2, converts and sells your product, all you have to do is manage the back end, because that will keep those products moving out the door. And you really only have to do that once, and then it's basically all inventory management. Of course, if you're adding other products, you're going to have to be doing some of that marketing and stuff for those new products. But it seems possible to just build a really great listing. And if it does well, all you have to do is keep your inventory stocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, the positive notes here, right, is that it's selling well. It looks like it's profitable, at least based on, previous cost with potential revenue, which should be 40 to 45% profit margin. However, there is something that I think I should bring up in that this is a very capital intensive business. Even though, I can say I've done, $2,500 in revenue in the past 7 days, and half of that's going to be profit. You kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, actually. That's not money that I'm going to see unless I stopped ordering new inventory. If I stopped ordering new inventory, sure, yeah, I could just keep that money, but then I'm out of inventory. So in other words, every single penny and more of my profits is being reinvested. I'm not seeing a dime of any of this revenue. So that's something for people to be very aware of. So if they're short on funds, this is something that I'm going to have to fund myself for probably almost until the end of the year. I'm not going to be able to take any money out of this business, because just today I can see that this product's selling really well, and I can kind of predict, okay, down the road in 60 days or 40 days that I'm going to probably run out of inventory. So if I don't order new inventory today, which in fact I did just a couple hours ago, I sent another wire over to China to order my next batch of units. And this next batch is much, much bigger. So, I'm not going to give the exact dollar amount that I spent, but let's say I send, $9,000 over. I mean, that's $9,000 I had to send today. I'm essentially borrowing money from myself today. And so even as I get paid if I sell out of my current inventory, that's not going to be enough money to cover that $9,000 that I sent today. It just is not. And so when I get my next batch from China, that's going to take a few months to sell out. And so maybe by the end of the year, I'll actually have, finally sort of caught up to where, okay, now I can pay myself just a little bit. But this is a very capital intensive business. It's not something that, you're just able to peel off cash left and right. It's a super capital intensive business that either you have to have a lot of money to be able to do it, or you need to have savings, or can borrow money using some sort of credit. It's just not something that's going to fund itself, at least not very well in the beginning if you're growing as quickly as what I'm trying to do.
That was a point that I wanted to make. So I just want to talk about maybe a few of the different growth models you could use depending on what your goals are. So for us, we want to grow really fast and get up to a much higher level than we are now. As much as we're happy with what this product is doing, we definitely want to scale this business up just super hard. We want to get to a really nice, comfortable level with the Amazon FBA program. I'm wondering though, if there is someone who wants a slightly more passive, slightly more stressful, slightly less capital intensive model, is it possible to just keep reinvesting the same cost of your products? So for example, if your products cost or the cost of your products total to get them on Amazon and sold is $2,000 and you're making $4,000 in revenue and your profit is $2,000, could you just keep reinvesting $2,000 every batch?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you could, but kind of like you mentioned, you're not going to grow. Because you'll have no way of getting that $2,000 back until you've already sold out of your previous stock. And then you have to wait, 30 days or whatever it is from Amazon to actually get paid. Okay. So you're going to run out of stock. You're going to get paid 30 days later from Amazon. Then if you place your order, just depending on how long it takes your manufacturer to make that product, it will be, 30 to 60 days after that. So, you're going to be out of stock for 90 days, probably, if you operate purely on just the profits that are coming in. And then you won't have even grown, right? Then you'll have to do the same thing. You'll be out of inventory for 90 days every couple of months. So you can do that, but if you want to grow, you're going to, just the way that this works, it's an inventory-based business. You have to borrow against future profits or invest additional capital. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes tons of sense. I wanted to go back to this idea of building a good listing. And we haven't addressed this particular question in the past, but I had this question. We have this issue. It seems to have been solved, and I haven't heard anything about it from you, so it's actually a real question for you. And I think it's an important thing to address, and that is negative reviews. So we did have one negative review on our product, and I know that you were trying to handle that. And looking at the product page right now, it's gone. So what was the deal there? What did you do? What was your strategy? And how can other people tackle that if that happens to them with their FBA businesses?
Right. So we did. I got a negative review, and I wish I could go into all the details without giving away my product, but it was definitely a not deserved negative review. My product listing is pretty clear about, what my product is all about, and it certainly met what is in the product description, and which is, it's sort of the unique feature of my product is the reason so many people like it. And I call that out very, very clearly in bold and exclamation points and, whatever you want to say, like this unique feature is what makes it great. And then the negative review essentially said there was too much of this unique feature. It's hard to explain without. Essentially what I was saying in my listing, she wrote a negative review about.
Yeah, if you were selling pink shower heads, the negative review would have been, this is way too pink. Right?
Exactly. So it was sort of, and so I didn't know how to handle this. So I actually emailed the person that left the negative review, and we just kind of started a discussion. Offered them a refund and all sorts of things, which I did. I got them a refund for the product and just had a discussion. And I didn't know the terms of service of Amazon. And so this is a big no-no, and I guess I will share this. I was wondering if I should share this publicly. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sort of flying by the seat of my pants here. I don't do a lot of research. I just throw things against the wall and see if it works, and then do the research later after I make the mistake. So I emailed her and said, hey, what can I do to get you to remove this negative review? I'll give you a refund if you remove the negative review and that sort of things. Well, that's a big no-no. You are not allowed to ask people to remove any type of reviews or offer them incentives to remove their reviews or anything like that. I quickly found that out. The next day I did some research and read on, Amazon terms of agreements that that's not allowed. And so I wrote her back and said, you know what? I'm sorry. I cannot remove your negative review. This will not happen. And she hadn't agreed to do it anyways, but I immediately, just so Amazon knew, okay, I'm not doing this. I wrote back and said, I have to recant. I'm not allowed to remove your negative review, but I can still give you a refund. Which is fine. You can still give refunds, right? And so we discussed things back and forth. And again, I said, you don't need to remove your negative review. She went back and she removed it anyways on her own accord. And so that's what happened there. I learned that I'm not allowed to ask for negative reviews, but I also learned that just having an open dialogue with the customer, they actually sort of changed their mind and said, well, you're responsive and I'll just remove my review anyways.
Yeah, and this is something that I've seen with a lot of colleagues that run FBA businesses that I talk to on a regular basis. And a couple of them, will ask me to review their products. They'll give me a product with a discount code and I'll buy it and I'll leave an honest review because, we're all colleagues and that's how these businesses work. We help each other. And so as a result, I get an insight into some of their customer service processes. And a lot of these people are really intense about their customer service in a really good way. So I'll get this $17 product and then I'll get a follow-up email and then maybe one more asking if I've had a chance to use it, what I think of it. So glad it got to you safe, that sort of thing. I've heard of people giving phone calls to customers, not even negative reviews, trying to handle a situation like that, but just saying, hey, did your product get there and what do you think? Talking to people on the phone. I've heard of people sending handwritten notes, so a big part of success for this can be, and those are not things we did, by the way, but a lot of people are having success, or so I hear, with really intense personalized customer service. And even if you didn't ask her to remove that review, I think you offering to give her a refund, reaching out and, apologizing for her experience and giving her money back, that type of thing goes a long way. And if you have a couple negative reviews, maybe everybody's not going to remove it, but certainly some people will appreciate it and kind of put two and two together for you.
Now, those are great points. And with any business, great customer service and just treating people like you care goes a long way. But I will just say that this can be a very automated business. I normally don't interact at all with my customers on Amazon. Amazon ships the product and they do everything as far as that's concerned. But I have implemented on the back end some automated emails. And that is a way that you can be in touch with your customer and sort of just say, hey, did you receive your product okay? If you thought it was great, we'd love to hear your feedback, that sort of thing. And so I have a series of 3 autoresponder emails that go out using the Amazon system. And I'm actually using a product created by Chris Guthrie to do that called Sales Backer. He let me in as a beta user when they were first creating that. It is now publicly available, and I guess I'll let people check that out. They can go to nichepursuits.com/salesbacker, and I really like it. I have never used any other product for Amazon, email responder, but this works really great. I just logged in, and Chris had pre-written, for everybody that signs up, has pre-written 3 autoresponder emails, generic ones. And all you have to do is replace your product ID with what he had there if you don't want to write your original one. I essentially did that. I changed a few lines to kind of personalize it to my product and put my personality in there just a little bit. But generally speaking, I just used Chris's templates that he had in SalesBacker. And that's gotten me quite a few reviews. And in fact, just in the last day or two, I've seen, a couple of 5-star either seller ratings or, product ratings pop up. And, these are reviews that, I haven't had to give away promotional units for or do anything. All I have is just this automated sales backer that's kind of working behind the scenes for me, sending these people these emails and saying, hey, I hope you got the product. And if you have any questions, let us know, that sort of thing. So it's worked really well over at, nichepursuits.com/salesbacker. I'll make sure to have something up there for you guys to check out.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that. Amazon is a really hands-off sales platform. People think of Amazon as like a faceless store where they just buy stuff anonymously. And I think a lot of people even miss the fact that there are third-party sellers selling stuff on Amazon. So it goes a really long way when you buy something from Amazon and you get an email from that retailer, I mean, how many products do you buy on Amazon a month and how many emails do you get? For me, it's basically zero. So if you can buy a product on Amazon and that retailer sends you a follow-up email to make sure you're happy, that's a great way to get reviews. Of course, you have to have a little momentum first, but it seems to be working for us.
So far, so good, at least as far as product number 1 is concerned. And so let's maybe move into product number 2. Product number 1 is up. It's a winner. Like, honestly, if none of my other products do well at all, I think there's a lot of room to scale just product 1. I mean, I think it could be doing double or triple what it's doing today just by getting it on other platforms outside of Amazon, doing FBA in foreign country Amazon. I mean, I'm not even selling in the UK, Canada, Australia, you name it. Like, why not? I could maybe do a lot more than double or triple if I got into all these other countries. That's going to take time, but I honestly think that just product 1 can move the needle quite a bit here. But as mentioned in my previous podcast, I actually have 5 products on the way, and product 2 is up, but it has not sold a single unit yet. Now, it's only been less than 7 days, I believe, at this point, but it has not made a single sale.
How does that compare to product 1's first 7 days?
Product 1 in the first 7 days, I remember it was less than like 10 hours and I had made a sale on product 1. It didn't make a ton of sales the first week. It probably less than 5 total sales, less than 1 a day. Product 1, it took it a couple of weeks before it was up to 1 to 2 a day, before it really kicked into gear after we did some reviews and stuff. But product 2 hasn't sold a single unit in a week, and I think I kind of know the reason why. At this point,
I have an idea too. So let's maybe see if our brains are overlapping here.
Okay, so I'll give my reason, and we chatted about this a little bit, but maybe you have some additional thoughts on this. But essentially with product 1, I had a very specific niche, a very specific keyword, a very specific problem that I was solving. Now with product 2, I'm moving into more of a general market that isn't as specific and targeted, and I don't have that winning sort of keyword yet. To be honest, I think it does come down to keywords. I'm lost in a sea of other products right now. I wish I had a good example. So maybe let's go back to our shower head examples, right? That seems to be working. So my product 1 was, pink shower heads, and we knew lots of people are searching for pink shower heads. So I'm one of the only ones selling pink shower heads, and so I'm doing really well with product 1. Product 2, I've now moved to just shower heads. Okay, I don't have that unique killer feature. It's just shower heads. And so now I'm one of, 100 other people selling, just basic shower heads. Nothing fancy. But I thought this was a bigger market, and I do think it is a bigger market. It's sort of it's a general market though. And so I'm having trouble sort of nailing down who my audience is, what keywords are they searching for. And to be honest, up until this point, I haven't put a lot of time into it to really tweak and try things out, just because I've been swamped with other things. But I need to work on it in order to get some sales.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of lines up with what I think might be the difference too. I do think it is a keyword issue. And I think one of the reasons we got those few really quick sales for product number one was something that we discovered a few podcasts ago, and that's Amazon's ads on Google and Facebook for that particular keyword. When people click on them, our product was showing up there on that page. And for product number two, it's not, because there are just so many more, because it's slightly more generic. So I think we're not benefiting at all from Amazon's PPC in this market, because it does take a little bit of time for your listing to get traction, and it takes a little bit of time to, rank in Amazon, especially if it's slightly more competitive. But for product number one, when people were clicking on the ads for that keyword, they could see our product. And I don't think that's the case for product number two.
Right. And to clarify for people, Perrin's not referring to us paying for ads on Amazon. We're not doing PPC on Amazon, but Amazon themselves do PPC on Facebook and Google and other places. They run that, on their own. So when people search for pink shower heads, they have ads in Google or Facebook, and people see pink shower heads. And so, yep, we're not showing up on that just because we don't have that specific targeted keyword, that niche. We're just one of many. So how are we going to fix that?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just going to say, we're going to give up on it. No.
Oh no! Come on, man.
That's not business, right?
Don't even say that.
Yeah, no, we are going to, we're just going to get aggressive. We are going to do the exact same thing that we did with our first product, which is to go out there and get reviews. And that basically comes down to hustle. We have a few platforms that we like to do that with, and we're trying to kind of experiment and really nail down a strategy for it. But the way you get aggressive on Amazon is to get reviews from people. And that means you're going to spend a little bit of money by giving away free products. You're going to miss out on some potential revenue. And you also are going to spend some of your time. But that's what you have to do. And I think we're also going to try to find some sort of angle so that we appear less generic, or, like a good keyword or something, so that we do start showing up on the pages Amazon is sending paid traffic to. We start showing up better in Amazon's internal ranking algorithm, and try to put it all together and create a listing, build a listing that sells quote unquote shower heads.
Yep, exactly. So, no, you nailed it. I mean, the first thing for me that I'm most concerned about is tightening up our product description and our page. We got to figure out what keywords we want to target. So, our primary keyword right now of the generic shower heads is a short tail phrase. It's a popular phrase. It probably gets searched for 20,000 times a month. Seems like it would be a great one, right? Well, just like you trying to rank in Google, it's very difficult to rank for those short tail phrases because everybody else is out there and they're well established and that sort of thing. So we need to add some keyword modifiers, I think, to our keyword. So we need to figure out, well, what's unique about our shower head? Is it a short shower head? Is it purple? Something about it. We're gonna find that, even if it's a keyword term that only gets searched for 100 times per month. We got to do it. We got to find something. We got to have that angle. And, as I'm talking about this was part of the reason I wanted to do this product, just to see if we could get a straight private label sort of generic product to do well on Amazon. And I'm already seeing that our work is going to be cut out for us. It's not as easy. This listing isn't selling itself. We got to do a little bit better. And part of this is my fault. I should have done this keyword research long before now. But it's not that I'm lazy, but this Amazon FBA business really is a secondary part of my business. It's, probably fourth or fifth on my priority list of what I do. And so it's one of the most exciting things that I do. I enjoy it, but I have so many, other businesses that I'm involved with that this is, now the rubber's finally hitting the road, and I'm kind of my hand is forced. I'm like, all right, I got to actually put some keyword research effort into this product listing now. And then once we do that, we're going to do exactly what you said, Perrin. We're going to go out and we're going to get some reviews, and hopefully that'll jumpstart things and we can start selling a few of these. So we'll see how that goes, and of course update people here in a future podcast.
Yeah, and in the last few episodes, You had mentioned briefly doing some other types of promotions like Amazon ads and then a few other things. Are you going to try any of those or look into any of those, or is this the right product to try it with? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a learning process, and so yeah, I think that I will. I'll probably try it. Once we get the product description buttoned up a little bit and we figure out, okay, this is who we're targeting, I think we'll know a little bit better what keywords we can target for PPC and some of these other advertising opportunities. And so I think that I probably will, just depending on how the product's selling. If it continues to not sell well, I think I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to start doing more advertising and trying different avenues of marketing to make it sell. Product one, I don't have to do PPC and all these other things. It's selling by itself. Product two is not selling, so I'm going to have to try these other ways of trying to get it to sell.
Yeah, and that'll be a good case study. I think in the next one or two podcasts, we'll have a little bit more of a definitive answer to the question that we raised in our last one, which is, does it pay to be the one or not? Because we've had a lot of people arguing with us about that, and this might be a good way to answer that, at least for our business. So let's talk about the other products. When we left off the last time rather, we talked about product one, we talked about product two, and we mentioned that we have others. So what is the status? What's the 411 on products 3, 4, and 5?
That's exactly right. So we have 3, 4, and 5 coming in, and they are still, they're en route to the US, right? So it's only been a week. There's really no status change at this point. They are not on their way to Amazon quite yet. They're in the process of being shipped. They should be very, very close. And so within the next week or two, I think for sure we'll have those additional 3, 4, and 5 products up and selling. Yeah,
and when we have that many products on Amazon, we're going to be doing a podcast a day, right?
Not sure about that.
You guys don't know Spencer Haas.
No, they can't handle listening to me every day. I can barely stand listening to myself here.
Yeah, likewise, except for me and myself. I'm too much of an introvert to talk for an hour a day every day.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Here's a harsh reality question. We're going to have 5 products up there. We have one winner. We have one that's looking less successful, at least to start, at its sort of, larva stage. What do we do with duds? We're probably going to have at least one, it's very unlikely that we're going to hit 5 home runs, right? So what do we do with the duds?
Well, I'll know when we get there, I guess. But I mean, just off the top of my head, at some point you just start lowering prices until they do sell, right? At some point, if you discount the product enough, you can at least sell it and probably get most of your money back. And then just decide not to reorder inventory. And so that's probably what I would do if product number 2 never really generates many sales. It may take me several months to get through my initial inventory, and then I would just never reorder, that stock again. Right. And we might lose a little bit of money, but hopefully product 1 makes up for it. And that might be a good insight into this business model, is that, we talked about the risk reward of lots of products, and we talked about the actual realized risk, which is, not all of the money you're investing, because you can just keep lowering the prices and maybe get back 75% of it if you're just undercutting everybody. But hopefully the model is more of a portfolio model. At least that's what we're going for. If we do have duds, we hope product 1 kind of picks up the slack. Is that more or less right? I think that's exactly right. At this point, it's a little bit of a testing game. I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't. I'm going to learn several lessons along the way. Like you said, we'll know a little bit better down the road, but early indications are just that, having that more unique or some specific angle or a narrow niche that you can target is definitely a better way to go. Yeah, for sure. So I guess maybe one of the last things I wanted to talk about is just scale, and the scale of this type of business, because I don't think a lot of people know about some of the people who are doing really well
in this business. And so I kind of wanted to combine a couple of things that we were going to talk about, which is how we're going to reinvest our money and what do the really big players in this space look like. So you show me a couple, so maybe you can just pull those out of your hat and give people an idea of what the ultra successful people in this business are making, and then how we're going to reinvest our money. And if we do plan to get to that level, which is, an absurd level, what's the basic idea for getting there?
All right. So, I mean, this could be a whole podcast on its own, right? And probably we need to bring on the experts that actually know what they're doing. And, sort of a sneak peek, we do plan on having a couple of guests on here in the near future. It might be a couple of months before you see all those podcasts and everything come out, but I do have a couple of guests planned. One that Perrin knows about and one he doesn't know about. For people that are selling on FBA and doing very well. So they will give you the real plan. I'll just sort of give you, this is what I think is going on. There are lots of people doing very well on Amazon. And like Perrin mentioned, I've looked at a few of them. You can see what their products are once you click on their account name, and you can see that they're selling, 50 or 100 or more products. So it's a matter of going into either, one niche and going into lots of products, or some people honestly are in lots of different niches and just doing, best-selling products in lots of different areas. And so people are doing certainly 6 figures a month. Others are doing 7, 8 figures a year. The business potential is quite large. In order to get there, it is a matter of scaling. It's not just finding one winning product. I can't scale product one to a 7-figure a year business probably, right? I'm going to need a few other winners in there to get there. And so I don't know, what you want to dig into here, what people might want to hear about, but it is a matter of reinvesting your profits, doing research to figure out what products are going to sell well, and just following a lot of the process that we've already done. So we'll be able to learn a lot more as we go down the road, but I've already started to go there. I've launched one product. I will now be at 5 here pretty soon. And by the end of the year, hopefully if I have a few that are selling well, I may be at 10. So I'm kind of in that process of, okay, I can see the profits coming in. This is what I'm willing to reinvest or borrow from myself or other businesses to invest even larger. That's how you're going to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just fun for people to know what other people are doing. When we have people on who are talking about niche sites, it's $5,000, $10,000 a month, and that's a pretty big success. But there are real businesses built around FBA. Some of the ones that you've shown me are businesses with dozens or hundreds of products and full teams of employees who are doing outreach and getting reviews and basically running it like a big retailer. So there's a really big spectrum on size and business potential and revenue. So I think it's just fun to dig into and to dream a little bit and to give people an idea of what the upper limit is, which is really big.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there you kind of have it. I talked about, the first 7 days back with my product, I've done about $2,300 in revenue, and I expect that to just kind of keep growing here because the first few days, honestly, of this first 7 days, I, sold 1 or 2 products. Now I'm doing 8 a day or maybe more here in the next couple of days. And so it's done very well with product 1. We're excited to get product 2 up and running. And then of course our other products to just scale those and grow a little bit more. This podcast sounds like us just rambling a little bit, talking about FBA, but people seem to be interested in it. They want to know what's going on, how can they get involved, and how can they hopefully grow a similar business. So I'm telling you, right now that we're doing close to $500 a day in revenue, about $200 a day in profit. Of course, I'm going to be reinvesting all of those profits. I do want to be very clear that I'm not just pocketing all of that. I'm reinvesting to grow the business. And so I may not take any money out of this business for a year. I don't know. But if I keep just reinvesting these profits, I think that I can get to that 6-figure, high 6-figure, maybe 7-figure area in the next year or two. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's a business. You never know if it's going to go one way or another, but I would love to get it to a 7-figure a year level.
Yeah, seriously. And I have a few colleagues I've been talking to, and one is doing FBA stuff. He shifted his business totally in that direction, and he's doing very healthy 5 figures in revenue. And I was like, that's awesome. What's your margin? And he's like, well, it's essentially zero because I haven't taken any money out of it yet. All of the money I've made has been reinvested. It's a snowball that he's trying to build. I think that's the way to do it. Just in case we were rambling a little bit too much, for the last 2 or 3 podcasts, what do you think are the major lessons that people could take away for themselves? Maybe just 1 or 2.
Major lessons. I do think I just have to go back to the contrast that I'm seeing between product 1 and product 2 right now is just finding that product that does meet a very specific need and doesn't appear to have so much competition, or at least doesn't have the appeal of just the general market. It is targeting a niche. And so that right now, at least based on, what I'm seeing, is kind of the biggest lesson I've learned at this point, is just that finding that smaller niche actually equals bigger sales. What about you?
I think maybe finding an angle, marketing angle. So there's a big difference between the marketing that we've done or how our product is being presented to the public between product 1 and product 2. And I think that makes a really big difference. Like, we wrote a really nice description for product number 2, but there's no angle really because it's a generic product. So I think that might be one. And then the realization that we are benefiting from Amazon's PPC efforts, and that by targeting really specific keywords, we can benefit even more. I think that's a pretty big one. And if I were going to go research more products, that might be something I would look at. I don't know if that's something formal that people are doing, but just Googling keywords you think might be good and seeing if there's Amazon ads for them, and then looking at the pages that they're sending you to and seeing if everybody on there is targeting that keyword. And if they're not, you might be able to get on that page and rank on that page and benefit from their PPC. So I think it's just all of these things are adding up, and we are kind of learning big lessons and little lessons, and overall we are getting better at it as time goes on.
I agree. I think that's a good point. Just the huge benefit that Amazon brings to the table, I guess, is just the overarching lesson that is sort of implicit in this whole discussion of Amazon FBA. This is why we do it. They're a huge marketplace, and just being able to ride the wave of that popularity. Everybody's shopping there, and I don't think that everybody else's business is unfortunately going to be as seemingly easy as my product 1 has been. I just listed it and it's selling. But the potential is there for something like that to happen. We certainly had to put some effort into getting reviews and jump-starting that process. But now that it's in Amazon and ranking well, just the huge mass appeal of Amazon has taken over, and that spills over into the Amazon's marketing efforts with PPC. I see ads for my own product everywhere. I log into my email, I do searches on Google, I log into Facebook, I see my ads all over the place. And it's not my ads, it's Amazon trying to advertise my product that just happens to be on their site. And so I think just that sort of riding the wave of Amazon's popularity is the overarching sort of business lesson as well. And what's interesting is Amazon is doing a huge push for their Amazon Prime Day, which is coming up very soon. I don't know if you've seen the commercials on TV or radio or anywhere around. They're trying to make it a bigger shopping day than Black Friday. So they're doing this huge push to get everybody to sign up for Amazon Prime. They're having tons of discounts. So we'll see how my sales do on Amazon Prime Day. See if that brings anything in as well. And I just wanted to confirm the date of that. It's here in the next week. I'm trying to look it up. It's tomorrow. Yep, it is tomorrow. So maybe on our next podcast, if I see any increase in sales, we'll talk about Amazon Prime Day. But again, just the lesson there is that Amazon is doing things to get people on their platform for you. The more Prime users they get, that's people that, get free shipping, that have their Amazon credit or their credit card number in Amazon, just more willing and ready buyers for you already. So it's a nice little wave to ride. We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, for sure. And we've said before that we don't think this type of business will be that easy to get into, and it may even be oversaturated and decline in the next 3 or 5 years. But man, they're doing some good work for us right now.
Absolutely. So I think we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Things are still exciting over here in the Niche Pursuits labs, if you will. We're testing out a few things and learning along the way, but we'll keep people posted and updated. Like I said, we will have a couple of interviews with people here in the next month or so. But with that, I do want to close out just reminding people that if they would like to get a special offer, a special deal on Longtail Pro, my keyword research tool that I created, they can go over to nichePursuits.com/V3, stands for version 3, so the letter V and 3. And if they do, they can, take a nice discount on the software. It's what I use to create websites and try to rank in Google, but I'm also using it for my own product listings in Amazon as well. It makes perfect sense to do that keyword research for your product listings, and you can do that right in Longtail Pro to give you an idea of what type of keywords are popular and which ones are not popular. And so that's what I've been doing. Hopefully people will go check that out. But overall, I hope people, even if they're not involved in the Amazon FBA business, hopefully they've been able to pick up on a couple of tips that we've shared here in the podcast, perhaps that they can apply in their own business or just motivate them to get involved in some sort of small business. I think that's what it's all about when people listen to these podcasts, is they're looking for a little bit of motivation. And so hopefully that we've provided that. Now people just need to take out the earphones, go over and take some action and start building their own business. So best of luck to everybody in their business. Thanks a lot.